The truths of yesterday are no different than the truths of today. There have come, however, some curious interpretations and tricky definitions of words which would tend to pervert some of those time-honored truths of yesterday in support of some strange ideas and notions of today. May I mention a few in order to suggest a present trend? The abundant life, for example, as the prophets of every dispensation have taught it, was a term used to refer to the living of a Christ-like life of service and sacrifice, the forgetting of oneself into immortality. But today that term has become politicalized, if there is such a word, you English and speech majors, and prostituted by politicians into what I fear has become something of a national ideal of comfort and ease, reflected in each political era by such slogans as the full dinner pail, ham and eggs Thursday, 2 chickens in every pot, 2 cars in every garage, a pint of milk a day for the whole world, etc., and so forth. The abundant life, in other words, to many has come to mean simply getting more and more for less and less. The care of the needy as a responsibility of the Christian church has been outmoded in some circles by the clamor for a universal social welfare program which views taxation instead of being for the cost of the expense of government, but rather as a process by which one man's goods are taken from him and given to another. I remember the shock I had as a young stake president several years ago when I was called in by a person of prominence in the social welfare field and told in effect that my efforts to have the church in my community care for its poor were silly in this age of enlightened social welfare work, and that figuratively I was just a novice, and with more experience and understanding I would not be so zealous for the care of the needy and the unfortunate by private church agencies. A liberal today, instead of being one to preserve individual liberty, is constantly seeking to restrict it by giving more and more powers to government. A George Washington, a Benjamin Franklin, Patrick Henry, Samuel Adams, or Thomas Jefferson, instead of being known as the great patriots which they were because of their great love for country and their zeal for its welfare, would now be in some circles known as isolationists of the worst variety. A true patriot in our generation, as a prominent speaker recently declared, is seemingly one who chiefly concerns himself with the welfare of other countries than his own. A period of national peace used to be thought of as the absence of armed conflict. Today we are said to be living in a supposedly peaceful period of national defense with an undeclared war raging in Korea. Sometime, if you would have a stimulating mental exercise, sit down and carefully analyze the full implications of those vaunted 4 freedoms about which so much is said today. If you examine literally 2 of them, absolute freedom from all fear and absolute freedom from all want, you may find yourselves not far from the principle for which 1/3 of the spirits of heaven contended. They, after a long struggle, were ejected to a place on this earth where they could make a second stand in an attempt to destroy human agency and the right of individual struggle and effort. Remember, if you will, the wisdom of the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness. Blessed are the poor in spirit. And on another occasion, fear God and give glory to Him. Would you ever wish to have men freed from such wants and such fears? Now there are still other catchy phrases and interpretations which are confusing. Prosperity, some so-called experts would have us believe, instead of being a process of developing and increasing wealth, is based on a program of destroying wealth. The thrift of our pioneers which eschewed debt is now challenged by the surprising doctrine that a huge national debt is a national asset. Even gospel principles, for example, the word of wisdom, if I might say it discreetly, are undergoing some strange dietary and other interpretations, which I fancy would startle our early leaders and even cause the omnipotent to smile indulgently in his dwelling place as he contemplates the spectacle of the many uninspired interpretations of his holy laws and speculations on sacred matters which for reasons of his own he's never seen fit to reveal to man. And so I might continue with new and strange definitions of such commonplace subjects as education, or what constitutes the ideal home, birth control, the American way of life, and on, almost without end, in an attempt to impress the solemn fact that each of you, as the leaders of tomorrow, must choose for himself some sure guide or rule of measurement in order to avoid the confusion and frustration by which scheming men seek to undermine that which has made us strong as a nation and as a people. Yes, I repeat, basic truth and such virtues as honesty, sobriety, integrity, and chastity do not change, even though men's interpretations and definitions vary. Truth is absolute knowledge of things as they are, things as they were, and things as they are to come.